DeepSeek V4 Pro costs 28 times less per output token than Claude Opus 5. We're talking 87 cents per million tokens versus $25. Same token count, wildly different bill. Both models just dropped, and people are picking sides fast, so I dug through official docs, model cards, and community benchmarks to compare Claude Opus 5 versus DeepSeek V4 Pro across 5 real tests, no cherry-picked numbers. The price gap alone doesn't tell you which one to pick because there's a specific coding scenario where Claude Opus 5 does something DeepSeek V4 Pro just hasn't been tested on, and it might change everything about how you think about the cost trade-off. This one's for developers and teams deciding where to route their API calls, because pick wrong and you're either burning money on Claude Opus 5's $25 output rate when you don't need it, or you're leaving hard reasoning quality on the table by going cheap, and honestly both hurt. Test 1 is reasoning speed and latency, and this matters more than people give it credit for, because a 1-second delay on every response adds up fast in a high-traffic app. And if you're running long agentic loops, a sluggish model can turn a 5-minute job into a 30-minute wait. DeepSeek V4 Pro clocks 73.2 tokens per second on artificial analysis with a time to first byte of 0.99 seconds, which is pretty solid. But Anthropic hasn't published an absolute tokens per second figure for Claude Opus 5, so I genuinely can't put both numbers on the same screen. Take this with a grain of salt though, because the DeepSeek numbers come from artificial analysis and together.ai, and they're tagged as unverified, and Claude's effort toggle changes compute use anywhere from 1.5 times baseline on medium to 3 times on high. So real-world speed depends a lot on how you configure it. I was expecting a clear speed winner, but without a published Claude Opus 5 tokens per second number, I can't score this one, so test 1 is a tie, which puts Claude Opus 5 at 0. DeepSeek V4 Pro at 0, one test tied so far. Test 2 is cost efficiency, and this is the one that really gets me, because run the wrong model at scale and your API bill doubles or triples before you even notice, and Claude Opus 5's effort toggle can multiply your cost per task without any warning, which is exactly the kind of unpredictable spend that wrecks a budget. I pulled the list prices and the gap is genuinely wild. Claude Opus 5 is $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens, while DeepSeek V4 Pro on OpenRouter is 43 cents input and 87 cents output. So we're talking 11 times cheaper on input and 28 times cheaper on output. Honestly, I expected a gap, but 28 times cheaper on output is way more than I anticipated. So DeepSeek V4 Pro takes cost efficiency and it's not close, putting the running score at Claude Opus 5 0. DeepSeek V4 Pro 1. One test, still tied. Test 3 is long context handling, and the problem is real. Feed a model a massive codebase or a 500-page document, and it starts forgetting things buried in the middle, which isn't a minor annoyance. That's a wrong answer you might not catch. And in a production pipeline, that's a genuine liability. Both models support 1 million tokens, same ceiling, but DeepSeek V4 Pro posts an MRCR score of 83.5 on long document retrieval, which is a solid number, while Claude Opus 5 shows stable performance across its full window, but there's no published MRCR figure to put next to it. Before we score this, I want to flag something. Claude's 39.3% actionable precision on a code review task is a real-world metric, not a retrieval benchmark, and DeepSeek's MRCR score is a retrieval benchmark, not a code review metric, so you can't directly stack them. I was expecting one model to pull ahead here, but the metrics just don't overlap enough to call a winner. So long context handling is a tie, moving us to Claude Opus 5.0. DeepSeek V4 Pro 1, with 2 tests now tied. Test 4 is coding accuracy, because ship a bug your model missed and you're the one debugging at midnight. And a model that proposes a bloated patch instead of a clean one costs you real time and real credibility with your team. What I found is there's no shared benchmark here, which is frustrating. Claude Opus 5 scores 43.3% on Frontier Bench, a hard reasoning-heavy coding test, while DeepSeek V4 Pro hits 93.5% on LiveCode Bench and 80.6% on SWE Bench. So different tests mean I can't call a head-to-head winner from those numbers alone. I was expecting the benchmark numbers to settle this, but they're testing different things entirely. And even though Claude Opus 5 found the exact bug in a real debugging test with the smallest patch and a regression test included, no shared benchmark means coding accuracy is a tie, so the score stays. Claude Opus 5.0, DeepSeek V4 Pro 1, 3 tied. Test 5 is API reliability, and this one's pretty straightforward. When your single provider goes down, your whole app goes down. That's not a hypothetical. That's a Saturday night outage with users pinging you. And if you've got no fallback, you're just waiting and hoping. The gap here is bigger than I expected. DeepSeek V4 Pro runs on 6 or more providers including Fireworks and Deep Infra, and it's open weight under MIT license so you can self-host entirely, while Claude Opus 5 is Anthropic only, one provider, full stop. That said, Claude Opus 5 does have a dedicated rate limit bucket, separate from older models, which is actually useful for high-traffic apps, and multi-provider access on DeepSeek means throughput varies per provider, so you're not always getting the same performance across all 6 options. I was expecting Claude's dedicated bucket to matter more, but 6 providers plus self-hosting is just a stronger hand, so DeepSeek V4 Pro takes API reliability, and the final score is Claude Opus 5.0, DeepSeek V4 Pro 2, with 3 tests tied. Claude Opus 5 wins on hard reasoning. It scores 43.3% on Frontier Bench, more than double what Opus 4.8 managed, and in a real debugging task, it found the exact prefix matching bug, proposed the smallest possible patch, added a regression test, and verified it locally, which is a level of precision DeepSeek V4 Pro just hasn't been tested against. DeepSeek V4 Pro wins on everything. Cost and infrastructure related. Output tokens at 87 cents per million versus $25 is a 28 times price gap. It runs at 73.2 tokens per second above the tracked average of 65. And with 6 plus providers and full self-hosting under MIT license, you're never locked into a single vendor. Honestly, I went in expecting a closer fight, but the cost gap is just really hard to ignore. And 28 times cheaper is a real number. So here's the decision rule. If you're doing high-stakes reasoning or precision debugging where that extra edge matters, Claude Opus 5 is worth the price. But if you need cost control, speed, or infrastructure flexibility, DeepSeek V4 Pro is the clear pick.